From thrilling last-minute goals to unforgettable upsets, Zimbabwe's soccer history is rich with moments of glory. Join us at World Football Biographics as we count down the 20 greatest victories that defined Zimbabwe on the football pitch. Still fresh to international football readmission after 30 years in the wilderness of a ban by FIFA because of apartheid, South Africa arrived in Harare back of 3 high-profile friendly matches against a mighty Cameroon side in which they won 1, drew 1 and lost 1 of the 3 matches. They had every reason to lift their tails up, but surely left Harare with their tails between their legs. Zimbabwe's talisman Peter Ndlovu was on song, and the South Africans danced to his tune. Bafana didn't know what hit them as they struggled to deal with Zimbabwe's highly charged physical play and found themselves reeling at 4-1 on the hour mark. Victories had thrust the hosts into the lead with a turn-and-shoot strike in the 7th minute after some neat interchange of passes before Raman Gumbo doubled the lead for the hosts in the 20th minute with a belter from outside the box. But Sam Kambule would instantly reply with a goal of his own in the 21st minute after catching Zimbabwe's defense ball watching, perhaps still celebrating their second goal. The second half would belong to none other than Peter Ndlovu, who scored a penalty in the 50th minute after a Bafana defender had handled in the box. Peter Ndlovu would score one of the best goals of his career after being released by a Memory Mjeraho through ball on the right, collecting the ball at full speed and dancing past 3 battling Bafana defenders and slotting the ball under the helpless keeper to bring the curtain to one of Zimbabwe's most memorable football matches. Cameroon are a powerhouse of African football, and it's never easy playing against them. However, there was a day in 1995, 22 January to be precise, when a spirited Zimbabwe side overran the indomitable Lions with maximum incision. Zimbabwe was irresistible and Cameroon never got going. The match began with high intensity, and it wasn't long before Zimbabwe found the breakthrough, as in the 12th minute, a well-placed cross from the right found Victories, who expertly slotted the ball into the net, giving Zimbabwe an early lead. Tension rose as Cameroon's Simon Mokoko committed a bad tackle on a Zimbabwe forward, resulting in a red card. 2 minutes into the second half, capitalizing on their advantage, Zimbabwe's Paul Gundani embarked on a fine run, weaving through the defense before unleashing a powerful shot that found the back of the net. The third goal for Zimbabwe came in the 50th minute from a brilliant pass on the left, once again finding Takawira, who made no mistake in extending Zimbabwe's lead to 3-0. Cameroon managed to pull one back through Hans Agbo, who scored from a cross on the left, making it 3-1. However, Zimbabwe was not done yet. Takawira, in sublime form, beat a defender in the penalty area and scored easily, completing his hat-trick and sealing the match with a final score of 4-1 in the 88th minute, bringing to an end one of Zimbabwe's most comprehensive victories. This victory laid a firm foundation for Zimbabwe's quest to qualify for their first ever African Cup of Nations finals. Defeating group favorites Mali in a group that also had Eritrea and Seychelles would come handy for Zimbabwe in their bid to qualify. Captain Peter Ndlovu provided the assist, firing the ball across the Malian goal area for Lazarus Muhoni to stab it home just after the hour mark for the only goal of a tense showdown. This match is also specially remembered by many Zimbabwean fans for Lloyd Chitembwe, who outfoxed and caged the Malian talisman Seydou Keita, therefore extinguishing all the hopes Mali had. Arriving in Harare, Angola's profile was quite high. Since the last time they had tasted defeat, Angola had played 7 matches, winning 5, including 1-0 wins over Nigeria and Zimbabwe in Luanda and drawing 2, which means they had hit quite a purple patch coming into this match. Angola needed to maintain their positive run in their quest to qualify for the 2006 World Cup. It would take something special for Zimbabwe to stop and beat the Angolans, as much as it would take something special for Angola to win in Harare. The match would come to life in the second half as substitute Shingirai Kaondera struck the first from the edge of the box in the 60th minute before Benjani Mwaruwari headed in a cross from Joe Lupahla in the 69th minute. Just like that, Zimbabwe had brought the Angolan locomotive to a halt in what was one of coach Charles Mhlauri's best games. On 20 December 1992, Zimbabwe were host to Egypt, who had made it to the finals of the previous World Cup in Italy in 1990. The Zimbabweans, who included Liverpool goalkeeper, were expected to capitulate to the Egyptians, but instead played inspired football to produce something of a shock. The game took a while to get going, with chances missed on both ends, but Zimbabwe opened the score on the stroke of half-time after Max Makanza found Arjen Sau, who in turn gave it to Peter Ndlovu, who left Kash Bahadi with no chance with a powerful low strike. 1-0 it was then for Zimbabwe at half-time. Zimbabwe went further ahead after a cross by Benjamin Konjera found Arjen Sau, who put the ball away to give Zimbabwe a 2-0 lead at that point. However, Egypt was to pull one goal back after a cross from Reda Abdi Al was made by Ahmed Abdi El Kas, making it 2-1, leaving Bruce Grobler, the Zimbabwe goalkeeper, with no chance. Zimbabwe would hold on and win the match. Ghana was strong and were World Cup bound, but performed dismally at the 2006 African Cup of Nations in Egypt. After losing to Senegal and Nigeria, Zimbabwe went into the match against Ghana seeking their first tournament points and dominated from the start and needed a very good performance. Veteran captain Peter Ndlovu and Portsmouth's Benjani Mwaruwari led Zimbabwe's attack, troubling Ghana's defense throughout the match. The first goal came in the 59th minute when Ghanaian defender Issa Ahmed inadvertently scored an own goal, putting Zimbabwe ahead. Benjani doubled Zimbabwe's lead in the 69th minute, capitalizing on a loose ball. Ghana, struggling without their half-fit captain Stephen Appiah and suspended Larry Kingston, found their midfield largely ineffective. Despite some chances, Ghana's attack was largely unproductive until Baba scored a consolation goal in injury time. Ultimately, Zimbabwe secured their first win, while Ghana's campaign ended in disappointment. Zimbabwe pulled off a big upset in their final game at the 2021 African Cup of Nations after a disappointing 1-0 loss in their first match against Senegal, followed by another heartbreaking 2-1 loss to Malawi. Zimbabwe won a game at the African Cup of Nations for the first time since 2006, when they held on for victory over a previously impressive Guinea. A Knowledge Msona header and a Kudakwashe Mhachi shot gave the Norman Mapeza coach Zimbabwe side a 2-goal half-time advantage that was reduced when then Liverpool midfielder Naby Keita netted on 49 minutes. Zimbabwe came under increasing pressure but held on for the win. Zimbabwe entered their first ever African Cup of Nations appearance with a deserved 2-1 win over Algeria, which was consequentially their first ever win at the African Cup of Nations. Adam Ndlovu had missed two early chances but finally scored with a header from a corner in the 56th minute. Joe Lupahla added a second goal 6 minutes later in the 71st minute. Algeria, initially complacent, were in danger of elimination. Hosni Achui scored a crucial goal in the 73rd minute to ensure Algeria advanced. The final 25 minutes were intense, with Zimbabwe dominant initially. Despite fielding 5 changes, Algeria's star players introduced in the second half couldn't overturn the result, highlighting Zimbabwe's strong performance. Kinshasa is one of the most intimidating and tense away assignments for visiting teams, and there are never easy games there. Worse still, the Leopards of DRC were unbeaten at home in 4 years, as well as ranking 3rd in Africa. Reading into these statistics alone, on paper Zimbabwe were expected to collapse at the hands of a very tough Congolese side. Zimbabwe surely knew it would take a colossal effort to subdue DRC in their own backyard. The hosts dominated possession throughout the match but failed to capitalize on their chances as Zimbabwe's defense and counter-attacks proved effective. Ronald Fumbizai opened the scoring for Zimbabwe in the 21st minute, finishing Kamabiliat's free kick. Captain Knowledge Msona doubled the lead in the 69th minute but was sent off after receiving a second yellow card. Despite being a man down, Zimbabwe held on, with DRC's Yannick Bolasie scoring a late consolation goal in added time. Another of many of Reinhard Fabish's impressive assignments was a tough and resolute Guinea's subjugation in Harare in a 1994 World Cup qualifiers. Just like most of West African sides at that time, Guinea was packed with European-based stars, including the likes of Titi Camara. However, Zimbabwe were unfazed and buoyed by the home crowd. The match was decided as early as the 3rd minute when Arjen Sao connected to a looping high ball in the box with his right foot to score and give Zimbabwe the win. After Guinea had jiggled and jittered with Mercedes van der long throw into the box, Guinea would try to level the game, but Zimbabwe remained resolute to hold on to the precious win. Considering what Cameroon had done at the 1990 World Cup in Italy, a visit to Harare to play a lowly ranked Zimbabwe in the 1994 World Cup qualifiers would have been a straightforward win. To their amazement, Cameroon collided with a stubborn international Zimbabwe side that was playing its best football under Reinhard Fabish. Zimbabwe was careful and compact and barely gave the star-studded Cameroon team space to operate. As was becoming a norm of those days, Arjen Sao scored a sucker punch to stun Cameroon and grab all the 3 points in the 86th minute. The 1998 World Cup qualifiers match between Zimbabwe and Togo in Harare produced another memorable classic for Zimbabwe football fanatics. Zimbabwe finished the match with 10 men after Dumisani Mpofu was sent off in the 58th minute after accumulating 2 yellow cards, but that didn't deter Zimbabwe to overrun Togo. Kennedy Chihuri opened the scoring in the 23rd minute before Vitalis Takawira scored the second goal in the 28th minute via penalty. Takawira would add the third in the 49th minute to cap a good day in office for the team. Zimbabwe defeated Senegal in Harare in a 2000 African Cup of Nations qualifier. Peter Ndlovu scored in the 8th minute and Arjen Sao extended the lead in the 55th minute, putting the home side ahead 2-0. The then English-based Peter Ndlovu had skillfully outmaneuvered 2 defenders to score with an excellent left foot shot before Arjen Sao's well-placed header solidified the home team's control, shooting down one of Africa's big boys in the process. Senegal's Omar Traore responded with a goal 13 minutes from time, but it wasn't enough to equalize. Another high-profile team in form of Mali arrived in Harare with their cocktail of stars looking to make light work of a Zimbabwe that was still trying to find its way past the era of Peter Ndlovu and Benjani Mwarwari, who had not long retired. Mali were star-studded and buoyant. On the other hand, Zimbabwe had prodigies Knowledge Msona and Kamabiliat still in their early days as full internationals. Zimbabwe would have hoped for a better start, but both teams took long to get going. Mali struggling with a boisterous crowd at Rufaro Stadium and Zimbabwe soaking in the pressure. Mali would eventually bow down to the pressure in the 45th minute as Knowledge Msona was released by a through ball to ding the ball over the keeper, giving Zimbabwe the lead. Mahamane Traore pegged back the host in the 50th minute with an equalizer for Mali. However, Zimbabwe would save the best for the 90th minute. After Ovid Karuru was hacked down in the box, Knowledge Msona held his nerve to score his retaken penalty after the Malian goalkeeper had moved off the line, giving Zimbabwe a hard-fought 2-1 win, sending coach Norman Mapeza and Rufaro Stadium into delirium. There is one friendly derby that is always tough to win despite the form of either teams. The 2021 African Cup of Nations qualifiers provided another spectacle in Lusaka. Kamabiliat and Captain Knowledge Msona led Zimbabwe to a 2-1 victory over Zambia at the National Hero Stadium in Lusaka. Kamabiliat opened the scoring in the 10th minute with a header from a Knowledge Msona corner. Zambia had opportunities to equalize, but it was Pastor Ndaka who finally leveled the scores with a powerful left-footed shot in the 20th minute. Despite Zambia's efforts, Billard scored the winning goal 12 minutes from time, converting another knowledge on a cross, giving Zimbabwe victory against their longtime rivals. Senegal have always been big dogs of African football, and defeating them is certainly not a straightforward task. In one of Zimbabwe's early scalps as an independent nation, Stanley Ndunduma scored a solitary goal that upset and condemned a tough Senegal team to defeat in the 1986 African Cup of Nations qualifiers in Harare. Zimbabwe clinched the 2018 COSAFA Cup in a thrilling final against Zambia, marked by a last-minute equalizer and extra-time drama. Zambia, close to avenging their previous year's defeat, led 2-1 until Zimbabwe's Tino Kadewere equalized in the 93rd minute. Billard then emerged as the hero in extra time, converting a penalty in the 101st minute after being fouled by Zambia's Ronald Kampamba. Billard sealed the victory with yet another goal in the 117th minute, securing Zimbabwe's record extending 6th title. Kadewere had earlier opened the scoring in the 4th minute, capitalizing on a defending error by Zambia. However, Zambia's Lazarus Kambole responded with 2 goals, 1 in each half. Angola have always been tricky customers and have always posed a threat when they meet Zimbabwe. On the 31st of January 1993, Zimbabwe played Angola in a Group C 1994 World Cup qualifier in Harare. The home team took the lead through Arjan Sau in the 19th minute in front of 55,000 supporters. However, the visitors equalized seconds before halftime with a goal from Neto. Zimbabwe took a vital victory as Peter Ndlovu made it 2-1 in the 64th minute, and Zimbabwe would remain resolute and shut out Angola to claim the victory. The team, then under Callisto Passoa, had made the infamous road trip to Malawi by bus and arrived just in time for the kickoff. Against the odds, the Warriors performed a smash and grab on their opponents at Kamuzu Stadium in Blantyre when Cuthbert Malajila in the 23rd minute and Billard in the 83rd minute helped Zimbabwe to a 2-1 win under difficult conditions. John Banda had equalized for Malawi in the 24th minute, but Zimbabwe had the last laugh. The circumstances building up to this match and the conditions under which this match was played makes this match a candidate for Zimbabwe's best victories. The 1994 World Cup qualifiers provided an excess of joyful outings for the Zimbabwe national team, even though they fell on the final hurdle. A plucky Togo was also on the menu and was hunted down by the Warriors in Lome, who condemned Togo to a 1-2 defeat courtesy of Arjan Sau, who scored in the 47th minute, and Henry Makop, who scored in the 61st minute. Togo would pull one back through Ali Salisu, but their efforts to equalize and perhaps snatch the victory were relentlessly dealt with by a tenacious Zimbabwe team that repelled everything thrown at it with accurate meticulousness. So that's it for Zimbabwe's 20 greatest football victories. If you have any other matches that we left out on this list, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment section below. As always, thank you all guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. For now, it's goodbye.